Picture this. Smoke rises from what used to be underground Iranian military bunkers. Radar arrays are now twisted scrap, and once proud defense buildings lie in heaps of rubble. That, folks, is what Iran might look like if the United States decided to hit the full power button on its military. But what would that even involve? Let's dive into the US weapons so powerful they practically moonlight as Iran's worst nightmares. Iran. Not a superpower, but no slouch either. Now let's be fair. Iran isn't some puny pushover. According to the Global Firepower Review 2025, Iran holds the 16th spot out of 145 countries. That puts it in the same tier as military forces from Israel, Australia, and Ukraine. Iran's total military personnel clock in at about 1.18 million, including 610,000 active duty troops. That's a lot of boots on the ground, most of them split between the conventional Kurdish army and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Throw in about 500,000 Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps reservists, and another 300,000 internal security personnel under force of assistance to Rabah and Jamiat, and Iran's defense structure suddenly looks like a very well-organized beehive. However, here's the catch. They're severely under-equipped. Years of sanctions, budget pinches, and outdated tech mean Iran's forces are nowhere near US standards in terms of gear or firepower. Think of it as a well-staffed orchestra, but everyone's got kazoos instead of violins. Geography. Iran's real MVP. But manpower isn't Iran's trump card. Geography is. Iran is a mountainous fortress, roughly the size of Alaska. The Zagros Mountains to the west, for instance, act like nature's own missile shield. Key cities like Tehran and Isfahan are nestled safely behind these natural barriers, making them harder to reach, let alone flatten. Now throw in a network of tunnels, missile silos, and underground bunkers buried deep within this rugged terrain, and you've got a country that's more molehill than battlefield. These subterranean hideouts help make up for Iran's limited air defense systems, giving them places to stash missiles and launch counterstrikes while staying protected. But air defense? Not so great. Let's be honest, when it comes to defending the skies, Iran's got issues. While it has acquired Russian systems like the S-300 and S-400, plus some home-cooked radars like Falek and Suffer, they're spread too thin across Iran's massive landscape. Iran reportedly has thousands of missiles and drones, with over 3,000 of them being ballistic. But claims of 100,000? That's just wishful thinking where someone counted each screw and battery. Even the longest-range Iranian missile, the Khorramshahr, tops out around 1,800 miles. Impressive, but still dwarfed by what the US brings to the table. So now that we know what Iran's working with, let's talk about what scares them most US weapons that could take all that defensive prep and turn it into a very expensive bonfire. GBU-57 MOP. If Iran's strategy is hide underground and hope for the best, the US has a very unkind reply. The GBU-57 also known as the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, or MOP for short. This bad boy is a 30,000-pound precision-guided bomb designed specifically to crash party after party in underground bunkers. It's more than 6 meters long and designed to dig nearly 200 feet into the earth before saying surprise and exploding. The MOP is essentially the nuclear option of conventional bombs, and it can be delivered by another terrifying guest on this list, the B-2 Spirit. What's worse? If one MOP isn't enough, a B-2 can carry 2. Still not enough? Just drop a third. The MOP's GPS-guided accuracy allows it to stack attacks like pancakes, eventually drilling deeper than any mole could dream of. B-2 Spirit Bomber. Nicknamed the Stealth Bomber, the B-2 Spirit is the kind of aircraft that haunts air defense operators' dreams. Designed as a flying wing, this bomber is nearly invisible to radar, can soar at 50,000 feet, and carries everything from joint direct attack munition to nuclear bombs. Developed by Northrop and friends like Boeing and Hughes, only 21 of these were ever made, each with a price tag of over $4 billion in today's money. That's more expensive than most celebrity divorces. The B-2 isn't just stealthy, it's terrifyingly capable. It can deliver the GBU-57 cruise missiles like the AGM-158 Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile, and up to 80 precision-guided bombs in one go. It also features advanced radar systems like the APQ-181, allowing it to see you before you even think about looking up. Add a 6,000-plus nautical mile range, or 10,000-plus with mid-air refueling, and you've got a war machine that can fly in from halfway around the world, ruin your underground base, and be home in time for dinner. F-35 Lightning II. Imagine a fighter jet that can take off from short runways, land vertically, sneak past radar like a ninja, and then launch missiles, drop bombs, or gather intel like a flying spy. That's the F-35 Lightning II. Built by Lockheed Martin, this fifth-generation stealth jet comes in 3 flavors: F-35A conventional, F-35B short takeoff vertical landing, and F-35C carrier-launched. It's not just a fighter, it's a surveillance aircraft, electronic warfare machine, and precision strike platform all rolled into one. With sensors like the AN/APG-81 radar and AESQ-239 electronic warfare system, the F-35 sees threats long before they see it. And once it does, expect air-to-air missiles, precision bombs, and possibly even a nuclear strike if things get real dark. Iran's Air Force, largely made up of aging aircraft and decades-old designs, would have a rough time spotting, let alone shooting down, even a single squadron of these stealthy beasts. Gerald R. Ford-class aircraft carrier. If Iran's worried about what's in the air, they'd also need to fear what's floating just over the horizon. The Gerald R. Ford-class aircraft carriers are the U.S. Navy's latest and greatest. Giant, nuclear-powered floating cities that can launch dozens of F-35s, unmanned aerial vehicles, and support aircraft at a moment's notice. Each one comes loaded with electromagnetic aircraft launch systems, which are like high-tech slingshots that reduce wear and tear on jets. There's also the advanced arresting gear system to safely catch everything from fighter jets to featherweight drones. The Ford class also brings serious radar capabilities to the fight, combining the Spy-3 and Spy-4 into a single dual-band radar. Newer models like the John F. Kennedy swap that for the Enterprise air surveillance radar more efficient, less costly, and still nightmare-inducing for enemy forces. And did we mention these carriers don't travel alone? Each one sails with a group of destroyers, cruisers, and submarines. That's not a fleet, it's a floating Armageddon. Virginia-class submarines. And then there are the monsters you'll never see coming, the Virginia-class submarines. These are the stealth assassins of the sea, operating in total silence beneath the waves with enough firepower to level cities and fleets alike. Each sub carries Tomahawk cruise missiles, torpedoes, and depending on the model, up to 40 vertical launch weapons. Newer variants come with the Virginia payload module, which adds even more room for mayhem. These submarines aren't just sneaky, they're relentless. The real kicker: Iran probably won't even know where these subs are until it's far too late. They feature advanced sonar and stealth tech, allowing them to patrol silently along the Iranian coastline, gathering intelligence or preparing for a missile strike. If Iran's Navy thought they had a chance, one encounter with the Virginia-class would sink that optimism along with several ships. One giant U.S. puzzle, many painful pieces. So let's recap. You've got stealth bombers dropping bunker-busting bombs from 50,000 feet. You've got stealth fighters swarming from floating airfields that themselves are defended like Fort Knox. Below the waves, you've got submarines with missile payloads large enough to give even the boldest generals a nervous twitch. Individually, each of these U.S. assets is a terror. Together, they form a layered, highly coordinated attack force that could flatten Iran's defenses, missile sites, naval fleet, and strategic infrastructure before Iran could say, Allah Akbar. And that, my friends, is why Iran's generals probably sleep with one eye open and a bunker map under their pillow. From stealth bombers that vanish off radar to submarines that strike from the shadows, America's military lineup is less action movie and more apocalyptic sequel. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe for more eye-opening military tech breakdowns, and don't forget to ring that bell so you never miss a moment of high-tech havoc. Because when the world goes boom, we've got the front row seat just for you.